that there's something so special about you and me, babe. So just say the words, cause you know what it means to me, babe.
Welcome to the Babes in Sports podcast. My name is Jamie Hersch.
I'm Tory Roy. We're two friends navigating being mothers, wives, and successful women in the demanding, male-dominated world of sports.
And what a week it was for you in particular, Tor.
Well, now that you mention it, first of all, I just want to say happy hat season to all who celebrate. I'm very excited that it's beanie season, and I'm wearing my Kraken beanie in honor of Jamie and the NHL.
Yeah, I love it. That was Winter Classic one, right?
That was a good one. So,
Yeah.
but no, I appreciate that, James. I wanted to talk about it a little bit because, you know, we always try and catch y'all up on what has been going on in our world of sports. And you try and do your job and tell stories or, you know, do interviews in thinking about, okay, what's the best way that this can be received? What's the best way I can tell this story? And I'm going to play for you guys now the story that I did last week that aired on Sunday NFL Countdown. Patriots fans rejoice. It's about Mike Vrabel.
I'm Teresa Walker. I'm the state sports editor for the Associated Press in Tennessee. I've covered this franchise, the Tennessee Titans, since they first arrived in the state of Tennessee in July of 1997, and I have not gone anywhere since.
It's a tough business, I think, for females, right? For women, you know, breaking into this league. And again, when I got to Tennessee, just trying to get to know everybody, and then there's Teresa, and she's plugging away, and she's always right there in front and super attentive. And so I figured, just out of respect to her, you know, give her the first question, and it kind of stuck.
How are you, Teresa?
I'm good. How are you?
Great.
How is Ryan doing at this point?
Good.
When he took the job, I had a sit-down session with him, part off the record, part on the record. And I make sure to try to introduce myself to all the new coaches that I'm covering so that they know who I am. I'm asking objective, newsy-based questions. I think it was in that first season, 2018. Once we were kind of into September, it's like, okay, gotta be ready, gotta bring it. What am I asking today?
Go ahead, Teresa.
I'll ask you the same thing.
Teresa?
Oh, sorry about that.
Hi, Teresa.
Good morning, Mike. Mike, that the tail of the game?
Well, it's a large part of the game.
You know, it was always just a good way to get going, and like, what do you got, Teresa? You know, it was just one after another. And then obviously, I mean, Karen covered me here and covered us here when we were players here, so felt like it was only right.
Hi, Karen.
Hi, Mike. My name's Karen Garigian. I've been covering sports for 40 years, so I've been around the block. I think it's just kind of a respect thing, and I'm a familiar face, and I think he knows what he's getting pretty much when I'm going to ask him a question.
Hi, Karen.
Hi, Mike.
How you doing, Karen? Hi, Karen. How are you?
Well, how are you, Mike?
Great.
When we are able to make connections with the people we cover, it's why it's so important that journalists are in NFL locker rooms, because that way we get to connect on the human level and help tell their stories better. It helps everybody do their jobs better.
I think he has a set idea about how he wants to run things, how he wants to go about things, and the media is no different than the locker room. It's almost like he's setting our culture by going to the same person first all the time. Like he's keeping us in line.
Hi, Karen.
So, hey, guys, I hope you enjoyed listening to that, or if you saw it on social media. It got an overwhelmingly positive response. And that
It went viral. You're being so modest. I cannot go on Instagram without seeing it, and I love that. It's everywhere. All these outlets are picking it up. You did a terrific job making it seem, first of all, not even like condescending, right? Like, it just is what it is. It's about women in sports who get, you know, who have allies like Mike Vrabel. But I just love this so much for you and for the women and for everyone.
Thank you, Jane. I appreciate that so much. And yeah, we have been doing this. We have been working in this industry for what we feels like is a long time. And then to see these reporters, Teresa Walker out of the AP in Nashville, and Karen Garigian, who is a legendary reporter when it comes to Boston sports, like, these women are crushing it. And to just, I don't know, to see that in other places, right? Because we get so kind of, what's the word? Dialed in on our own world and,
Yeah, or tunnel vision.
Yeah, tunnel vision, exactly. And now to see them and they're doing the same thing we are, right? And they've been doing it for years and earning the respect, rightly so, from, some of the biggest coaches in professional sports, biggest players in professional sports. So congrats to you ladies for an amazing career. Keep it going. And it was an honor to meet you. So I hope y'all enjoyed that story.
Wait, before we pivot, I have to continue this. You're still too modest because it's so important. And I think what people, if you haven't, I mean, obviously people who are listening have just heard it now, but like go watch it too, because it's moving. And I think it's such an important message to everyone, male, female, people in positions of power or not, to be an ally, right? Like that it's so simple the way Mike Vrabel like just chose to do this. And yet it's so powerful. And now, this story has again gone viral, resonated with a lot of people. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see more coaches do that where, they're just like, hey, if we understand, we acknowledge at the very minimum, we acknowledge that it's a difficult thing for women to work in sports still. And we're going to go out of our way to just pay respect to that person and give them their time. It's not just because she's a woman, it's because she's worked there for forever, right? Like both of these women, Karen, Teresa, I don't know. I'm rambling now, but I would just say that it's such an important message in allyship and what it looks like to be a true ally without being condescending, without being patronizing. Just, be a good person.
I appreciate you. And you guys, we're going to talk about that a little bit more with our guests coming up, but I want to hear what's going on in Jamie's world.
Okay. Yes. So I am in Fort Lauderdale. I might as well just take up residence here at this point.
You should.
I am not here for soccer though. That'll be next weekend, Tory. I'm coming back next weekend for more soccer.
Wild.
I know. But for now, I'm here for hockey, which is super exciting. I'm back traveling with the Golden Knights. A little different than the weather in Calgary, which is the last time we had caught up.
You're going to get sick.
Yeah, I do not have to bring a winter coat and still be freezing my butt off. But no, life is really good. The Golden Knights, as of this taping, are currently still undefeated in regulation.
Go, baby.
Yes, they have not lost in regulation, which is just incredible, despite some pretty key injuries. So this road trip, despite the Panthers and the Lightning not playing great to start their seasons, that's who we're playing this weekend, and then Carolina. They still are, kind of thought to be some of the teams to beat. So I'm really excited to see how Vegas looks over this road trip. And I think that'll be really telling. So yeah, life is good. I can't complain. This is ridiculous. I'm at the Four Seasons. I've never stayed at a Four Seasons before this trip. And now this is my second Four Seasons in like 2 weeks. So, life, what could be better than being here and able to focus too on work, which is hard as we've spoken about. But I really am trying my best to talk to the kids when I can, but to also let them kind of live their lives and let my husband handle the chaos at home and get to kind of focus on my job and my work right now. So it's been great.
And that's all you can do, right? This is how we're balancing.
Right.
The way we can with our jobs, with our families. And you know what? It works out. It really does. For episode 10, y'all, she is a senior writer for ESPN. She's one of the most respected reporters in college football, with her focus primarily on where my heart is, the Atlantic Coast Conference. And of most significance, she is a mama of 2 daughters. She is Andrea Adelson. Good morning, Andrea. Look, I'm hoping that you can teach us a few things today when it comes to our podcast, because your podcast, Inside Access, is phenomenal. I've been catching up on it in the last couple of weeks. So what's been cooking on your pod lately, and what can you tell our listeners about where to find it?
Well, I appreciate that. So it's our first year in podcast form. This is a show that we launched on ACC Network. It's obviously ACC football. And I do it with my colleague, David Hale, who I have been working with on ESPN.com for the last, I don't want to age myself, 14 years. And so the two of us have got like a really fun synergy. And so, yes, we go like inside the stories and do all our reporting, have some great guests, but we also try and have some fun. And sadly, ladies, I'm on the losing end of our picks this year. And I may have to jump out of an airplane if I end up losing our picks challenge.
No
I don't
way.
want to talk about it. It's like so upsetting because I've won the last 3 years. And of course, this has to be the year
The high
that
stakes
I
one.
am like so far behind. I'm like 8 games behind. There's no way. Like there's not enough games to be able to catch up. And now that he's playing with a
No.
lead, he can just be super conservative. And I'm the one who has to take risks, which mean I fall further and further behind. So anyway, you can hear him make fun of me and me make fun of him at your favorite podcast location or on the ACC network if you so choose.
And that's once a week?
Once a week on Thursdays.
Okay, awesome.
Yep.
Well, everyone tune into that, and especially for the live dropping out of an airplane that
Oh,
they
no,
have
no.
podcast live. Oh my goodness. So, I mean, that kind of makes sense to me as a lover of the ACC because Georgia Tech, like
Yeah.
Bill Belichick, like what is going on in your world of sports? Jamie and I kind of cover the NHL side, the NFL side, the tennis stuff, but thank goodness we have you to fill us in on what is going on.
Yeah, you know what? I will say that this is probably one of the more unexpected ACC seasons in recent memory because going into the year, it just felt like Clemson was going to be the slam dunk
Always.
choice to win the ACC, and they were going to make the playoff, and they had all these guys coming back, and Kate Klubnik, and how many first-round draft picks. They're 3-4. And they're not anywhere near the ACC race. And so, as you mentioned, Georgia Tech right now is the only unbeaten team. Miami just lost last weekend, which I guess probably isn't too surprising to people because of what we've seen out of Miami. And they started out 9-0 last year, then they lost 2 of their last 3. But it was a little surprising because they had been playing so well up until the Louisville game last week. And now they're actually really far behind when you look at the ACC standings because you've got Georgia Tech, Virginia, and SMU, 3 teams we definitely had pegged to be undefeated in league play at this time. And then you have 5 teams with 1 conference loss, including Miami. And of course, they would lose that head-to-head tiebreaker with Louisville, which also has 1 conference loss. And now that there's no divisions, even thinking about tiebreaker scenarios, if everyone ends up with a loss, I can't let my brain go there at this point because we still have some football left to be played. I thought Georgia Tech was going to be good, quite honestly. They had Haynes King coming back. They had a bunch of veterans coming back. Anyone who has watched Brent Key, their head coach, loves Brent Key. So I'm not super surprised they're in the mix right now, but I am surprised they're the only undefeated team left. It's just Brent Key's an offensive lineman, right? And so they're playing with that offensive lineman mentality where they're just going to bust your butt,
Yep.
every single play. And that's the mentality of their quarterback, Haynes King, also. So they're fun to watch. They're really fun to watch.
Stanford, SMU, and Cal. How did you adjust to this now being in your purview of people that you've known and loved for years? And now here we go. Just throw it in.
Oh, boy, that's a great question because it was hard enough keeping track of 14 depth charts when the ACC expanded to 14, and now you're adding 3 more schools where you have to keep track of depth charts. There's a lot of football watching, a lot of tape watching, a lot of reading of notes, a lot of interviewing. And I have to say, as part of the ACC Network fall road trip tour, I got a chance to go out to Cal and Stanford in August. And it was my first trip out there because we've got at ESPN.com, we have a reporter who's based out on the West Coast. So that makes it a little more challenging travel wise, just from the geography standpoint. So the fact I was able to get out to Cal and Stanford and really dive a little bit deeper into those programs, see Andrew Luck at Stanford, right? And Frank Wright, Ron Rivera is now at Cal and, developed a good relationship with Justin Wilcox. But honestly, it's a lot of phone calls, a lot of reporting, a lot of talking to people. And Rhett Lashley, I mean, the job that SMU has done, they've won 20 straight regular season conference games going back to their time in the American. So the job that they've done, and when they're good, you're good, like SMU, it's a lot easier to get to know the team because they're relevant and you're talking about them a lot.
Sure.
And you're talking to a lot of those folks for long periods of time, which is what happened with SMU. I got to do a Kevin Jennings story last year for College Game Day around the time of the playoffs. So, you just got to bear down and do the work. And 17 is just like, all right, bring them on. Add some more in. That's fine. We'll do it.
Gonna challenge you more at this point.
Yeah, everything's fine.
And probably some late nights too, I can imagine, at least when Stanford and Cal are at home, right? It's like
I was, let's see. So last weekend, I got to go to the Tennessee-Alabama game. And on
Nice.
Friday night, we had the doubleheader. We had Miami-Louisville, and then we had North Carolina at Cal. So I was up until 2:00 in the morning because that game, for unknown reasons, took forever. And there were a lot of replays and a lot of stoppages. And I was like, this is
I
what
know.
Pac-12 After Dark used to be.
Yes.
But now it's ACC After Dark.
I know. It's crazy. So I'm a Pac-12 girly because I went to USC and still a lot of friends and family on the West Coast. And so living in New York for all those years, wanting to watch my USC Trojans, sometimes kick was at 11 o'clock Eastern. And I was like, this is so silly. And I still will stand by the fact that I thought like East Coast bias was real. It's a little different now because you've got Stanford and Cal and the ACC, you've got USC, UCLA, and the Big Ten. It's all messed up. But at the time, like 5 years ago, I feel like there really was a bias for the writers and everyone who's like voting on, the rankings and everything like that. Like, of course, they're going to watch the games that are a little bit earlier. That's just human nature. Like, you can say like, oh yeah, I'll stay up, but I don't fault them for not having, as close of an eye on all of those West Coast programs when they're playing at 1 a.m.
Yeah, it's really hard. I'm not going to lie. Although now that, the Big Ten has got USC, I mean, there was an 11 o'clock click. Wasn't it like Michigan State was kicking at 11 or something like that? People on the East Coast were really upset about that. So I do agree with you now that you do have some of these West Coast teams with UCLA and USC and Stanford and Cal playing on the East Coast conferences, that it's just opened things up a little bit more, and you kind of have to stay up and watch if you want to be able to figure out how to do your job properly.
I wanted to just pivot to your time as mom because you're trying to balance 17 teams, 17 depth charts, and, also probably trying to balance the schedules of 2 teenage daughters, one of which is getting ready to go to college soon. I mean, how we talk about this all the time. The idea of balance is so elusive. How do you try to find a balance with all of that?
Well, it's impossible. I think you guys know that, right? So I always tell people, you just do what's best for you and your family. And if you don't get to everything you were supposed to do in one day, then that's okay. We'll try it again tomorrow. And one of the biggest challenges for me, my youngest, who's a freshman in high school, plays travel ice hockey. And her travel ice hockey schedule is during football season. I can never go to her games. I literally can never go to her games in person. And it just makes me so sad and it breaks my heart. Before we got on, she's playing right now in Detroit. I was watching like the stream so that I could at least see some of it. And then it makes me feel like I write about all these athletes who talk about, my mom never missed a game. And my daughter will never be able to say that about me. And now I'm about to start crying just thinking about that because that makes me really sad. But at the same time, she's supportive and understanding of the job. In fact, when we do our picks that I'm losing right now and don't want to admit that I'm losing, she does them with me, right? So it's David Hale, Andrea Adelson, and my daughter, little AA.
Aww.
And she's right there and she's done them for years and years. And she takes great pride in that. And when she's home, we watch sports together. So even though I'm not physically there in person for her watching her games, we do share other moments together, but she just joined the soccer team. So now I got to drive her to soccer practice like every single day in the middle of trying to balance my interviews and the reporting and preparing the podcast and writing stories. And for my oldest daughter, she's in the middle of applying for college right now. Because I'm a writer, she asked me to read all essays, which is amazing. And I'm so happy to do it. But last night, for example, I was trying to finish a story that I'm working on and I'm in like deep concentration, and she walks up to me and she's like, can you read this right now? And so of course you drop everything so that you can help her with what she needs to get done. So I try to put my kids first. Sometimes that's hard with the travel and the job and all the demands that go along with it. But I feel like we all have a good understanding of where we are as a family and who needs to do what and who can do what. And if I can't make it to something, I hope my kids understand. I think they do, but it always is just, heartbreaking for me when I can't be there for every single thing.
Yeah, that's such an important lesson. And I can see it with you talking about it because I think both of us know exactly and our listeners know exactly what that feeling is. But I've learned in the last year, 2 years, especially in this industry, like not every family relationship, mother-child relationship is going to look the same anymore.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to sports. Things are so different than it was for any of us growing up. So I've had to be okay with that and be like, well, I sway my parents, but no, because it's a completely different situation. And it's like that for everyone. So and like you said, Andrea, it's hard when we're covering these athletes and we're hearing certain things. It's just like, that's what I want. But okay, I have this instead, and that's going to help them, I think, in such a different and unique way. And obviously has shown your daughters like that kick-ass, work hard mentality, like where do you think they're getting that from? They're seeing you grinding and it's only going to help them in the end. So that means a lot to hear, knowing it's not just me.
Well, we all struggle and it's important to share. And it's important for everyone to feel like your best is good enough. Doesn't have to be what your friend is doing or your coworker. I mean, my other female colleagues, when I talk to them, they have different things going on in their lives. They may have boys, which, maybe they're more involved in sports than my one daughter, right? Or some friends have special needs kids, which presents another different set of circumstances that they have to work through that may be different than mine. And, it's so hard, especially in this industry and with social media and all of that, where everyone's presenting this like perfect image of what it should look like. And you see it and you're like, why am I not like that? I just try and tell myself, don't compare your situation to somebody else because it's not the same. And even though we may all be in sports, mine is different from yours and yours is different from Jamie's and Jamie's is different from the next person's. And that's okay, right? Whatever you find within your family that works, that's amazing and that's perfect. And we're all doing a great job.
That's our story. That's everyone's story, right? That's the best. Nailed it. I wanted to ask you something too, just based on, you and I talked about Teresa Walker a couple of days ago in that story. And it just, I've always wanted to ask, like, because I've just never been good in these situations, right? When it comes to locker room scrums, press conferences. How do you or did you establish yourself amongst coaches, players to get your questions in, to get your job done? I find that so intimidating and I've never gotten good at it. And I know it does with reps, but how do you get past all that, especially with those people that like to talk over other people in the press room?
It's a great question because you're right. When I first started, I was completely intimidated. And I had a couple coaches, female coaches too, yell at me in press conferences for stupid questions. And I'm young and I'm trying my best. And they ripped me. And that scarred me, quite honestly, at the beginning of my career because I wasn't sure if I was doing it right. I wasn't sure if I should keep going. I wasn't sure if I should just sit in the back of the room and just be quiet and let everyone else ask their questions. And, I covered the New York Jets very early in my career.
Oh, wow.
And I went from covering the University of Miami, which had like 4 beat writers at the time, and you get to know the coaches and okay, it's like they see your face and there's only 4 of you, so they know who you are and it becomes easy. And then I go to New York and it's just, I'm hearing all these stories about how intimidating it is. And I get in that room with all of these seasoned professionals from the New York Times and the Daily News and the New York Post. And I'm questioning myself. What am I doing here? I'm 25 years old. I have very limited experience covering college, no NFL experience. I'm just going to sit here like this and not really just pretend like I don't exist. But what helped me in that situation is there was another woman named Judy Batista who works for NFL Network right now. And she was at the New York Times. And we each had a media room and we each had a cubicle in the media room where we could sit and do our work. Judy sat next to me. I can't even tell you how much this person has meant to me in my life because she probably has no idea that she means this much to me. But watching her in that room, because she had experience covering the New York Jets, I watched every move she made. I watched how she dressed. I watched how she talked to players. I watched how she asked questions. And that was a model for me. Like, I got this. I can do this. Judy's doing it and she's great at it. I can do it too. And so eventually I was able to come out of my shell and get that confidence to know that Judy's been doing this. She's great. Okay, let's go. The head coach at the time was Herm Edwards, who happens to be an extremely friendly guy. And so that made things easy where you didn't feel scared about asking a question, right? And then in the locker room, there happened to be Curtis Martin, Hall of Famer, who's one of the all-time greatest guys on the face of the earth.
Yep.
Didn't matter what you asked, he would answer. Then there was a guy I covered at the University of Miami named Jonathan Vilma, who's now works for Fox. He saw me in the locker room. I saw him, and it was like, thank God we have someone that we know in here. And it went from there, right? So as soon as you develop that confidence in knowing, you know what, like, forget those coaches who yelled at me before. I know what I'm doing. I got this. And there's other people in this room who have shown me the way. They got it. I got it too. It makes it easier. And as intimidated as I was being in that New York media, I made myself fit right in. And those friends that I made are still friends to this day. Rich Cimini, who covers the Jets for ESPN. Yeah, we've been friends since those days covering the New York Daily News, right? Judy and I are still in communication with each other. Mark Cannizzaro, who works for the New York Post, still talk to him. Steve Serby. I could go on and on. But it's not just the coaches and the players. It's also the people around you who are colleagues who also give you that confidence and belief that you got this and we got you. And that was an incredible group of people that even though we were competitive and we all wanted a scoop, we found a way to get along in that room. And it was so beneficial for me as a young reporter to be in that situation. And quite honestly, to be in that competitive environment. Because it's sink or swim. And if I didn't rise up to the challenge, I may not be where I am right now. And I can't even, I was there for 4 years and they were some of my favorite times as a reporter. And then you learn along the way. So I hope I'm not like too long-winded there, but
I'm like, just listen, you could go on and on because I think we all feel that way when we're given, and not just, I mean, that's the couple times that I had to do it and I didn't like it. So I should have stepped up more, but there are still times where we're put in different scenarios, right? Where we have to interview a big name player or a big name celebrity that just happens to be coming through and we've never done that before. Or like we're starting a new role, like calling play-by-play, like things like that, where you have to lean on others sometimes, right? And I just think that's such an important message that if you have the right people around you, then you got it, right?
Yeah. And I love, go ahead, sorry.
No, please continue. Talk too much.
No, I was just going to say, I think that's so cool what you're talking about, kind of the allyship among reporters, but also, finding those coaches and players who, can really just be nice, right? First and foremost, be nice. Don't be a jerk. But I will say, like, listening to you talk about that was just kind of a walk down memory lane for myself because I started in local news and then local sports in Madison, Wisconsin, which was a great starting market and so many amazing sports happening there at the time. The Packers won the Super Bowl. The Brewers were in the NLCS. The Badger basketball team went to back-to-back Sweet 16. The Badger football team went to 3 straight Rose Bowls. Like all of the things were happening at once. And it was a great experience and learning experience for me. But I remember, and I'll name him because he would say he does this to everyone, Bo Ryan. One of the toughest interviews ever. And just like, because he doesn't want to talk nonsense. He definitely doesn't have time for dumb questions. And he would have a Monday press conference every week during the season. And I remember being the only woman in the room, 22 years old, one-man band, schlepping my 50 pounds of camera gear and everything in my pantsuit that I got on sale at the Limited, shout out. And I was so nervous, but I remember one time I was like, I'm going to ask a question. I'm going to do it. It's important for me to do this. And so, they give you the microphone, which is of course even more intimidating, right? Yeah. To know that like your voice is going to echo. So I take a deep breath and I ask a question. I have no idea what the question was, but I remember his response. And he just kind of sat there and paused and looked at me. And he said, well, I've never been asked a question quite like that before. And I just was like, oh my gosh, I'm dead. He buried me. I suck, whatever, but he did answer the question. I don't even know what I asked to this day, but I remember the response and I remember I didn't feel disrespected per se. I just felt like I needed to be better. And so that was a really great thing for me because I remember then I would spend time thinking about how to phrase questions
Mm.
before I asked it to him. And I made it a personal challenge every week to ask a question because that was the only way I was going to get better. And eventually he ended up just being a wonderful resource for me. And we would do one-on-ones, and he was very kind and gracious with his time. But I've seen him walk off the court on ESPN mid interview at halftime because he didn't like the way a reporter asked the question. So it wasn't just me. It wasn't personal, but I just, sorry, I didn't mean to make this all about me, but it was just
You need a
really
push, though,
interesting
right?
to
It could be
hear.
from that source, or it could be from, like, you just need a push, and someone
Yeah.
has to do it, and look at you now, right? Do you think
Yeah.
that's what started it? Like, really
Well,
kicked you in
yeah,
that
like I
place that
think I just think anyone listening, if whether you are an aspiring journalist or you're someone just starting out, or even if you're established and still have a hard time in those environments, like challenge yourself to ask good questions
Yes.
and just do it and hear your voice doing it. And then, like you said, you'll believe in yourself, right?
Absolutely. And a lot of it too is listening to the other questions the reporters are asking so that
Yeah.
you can gain the knowledge. And I love how you said you were determined to make sure you're phrasing your questions right and asking the good questions. And I do that too, because if I know I'm going to be interviewing a tougher coach than others, I want to make sure I'm on point with how I'm asking the question. And a lot of times we are thrown into a situation like a few years ago. I'm at the Sweet 16 for women's basketball, and all this stuff is coming out about Kim Mulkey in the Washington Post and the profile of her and her family. And I had to ask the question about what the story was. And I made sure, okay, I know this could go one of two ways, but I need to make sure I'm on point with my question. And I knew I was asking it, right? So you just kind of say, all right, it's on me. I'm going to get the microphone and I'm going to ask it this way. And a lot of that does come with the reps, as you mentioned. A lot of that does come with challenging yourself. And quite honestly, coaches respect you more when you ask hard questions. I have dealt with Mike Norvell, the Florida State football coach, for the last 6 years. And it has been fairly rocky for most of the 6 years he has been the head coach at Florida State. And I have had to ask him a lot of really hard questions. And every time I do, I leave the interview and I'm like, oh, he's definitely just going to hate me now and never pick up the phone. But I had this conversation with him at some point last year. And I was like, Mike, I know that whenever I come in here, I'm asking you questions that you may not want to answer. And he said, you know what? I don't expect anything less from you. And I appreciate the fact that you do that. And of course, now things are dicey for him. And there's going to be more tough questions that are going to be asked. When they lost his second year for the first time to a 1AA team, this was like, there was still COVID and there was like a Zoom. And I'm waiting for the beat writers to ask the question and nobody's asking. And so I have to raise my hand and ask. And that it went like that for a long time with him. And then there were some good times, but it's become a running joke that I've had to ask him like 40 times. Do you think you're on the hot seat? And, he is on the hot seat. But I will say that, like, if you're the one who's consistent, you're asking fair questions, you're asking questions that are tough but fair, you gain a lot of respect along the way. And I think coaches and players also want to know that you care, that you're not just out there trying to do a hit piece or a gotcha question, that you've invested a lot of time in what you're doing, that you are somebody who is going to be objective in the reporting of what you're doing. And so you asked that question earlier about, well, how do you gain that trust and confidence from coaches? I feel like over my course of covering the ACC the last 15 years, that just about every coach in this conference will take my call and talk to me because they know I've put in the work and they know I'm going to be fair to them and they know I'm going to be objective. It's been a great working relationship with just about everybody in that conference.
What a cool feeling, right? Like
It is.
That's, I don't know. It's just like they're your colleagues now too, right? And you kind of are getting that respect. Last pivot to a mom moment. Do you have your moment ready?
I do. There's usually a lot of them over the course of the week, but this one just went right to the top. So,
wait to hear it.
My youngest, who plays ice hockey, also just made the high school soccer team, which is amazing. We're very proud of her and she's a great athlete. And That's just a huge accomplishment, right? As a freshman to be able to make the team. So now I'm driving her to practice every day, 3:00. Okay, so I drop her off at practice. I'm in the middle of preparing for the podcast and I have a story due on Friday. And so I have a lot of work things that are happening right now, but no, I got to drive her to practice. Okay. So and then I have to get gas. So, okay, so I drop her off, I get the gas, and then I get the text message. Did you fill out my athletic clearance forms? Shoot, I forgot. Why did you forget? Like, I could hear her screaming at me through the text message. And I was like, I'm sorry. She's like, well, you have to pick me up now because I'm not allowed to practice until they get those forms.
Oh, no.
And I was just like completely crestfallen because, again, this is the daughter who I don't go to any of her games. I'm like not available to like watch her. And I'm thinking, I've got this. I drive her to practice every day. I'm this like supportive mom who's like doing it. Yeah, I forgot all the forms. So I had to show up, I had to drive back out there, go pick her up. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to get yelled at. Like, it's going to be bad. Like, she is just going to be fuming at me. And she sits down in the car and I'm like, before you even say anything, I'm sorry. I forgot and I'm going to do it as soon as we get home. Like, don't worry. Like, it'll be taken care of. And she's like, it's fine. It's fine. And I'm like, wow, I mean, obviously I know it's not fine. And the thing for her was she's at that age where it's just everything's so embarrassing. Like everything is so embarrassing and mortifying. And she admitted later she was just so embarrassed that she had to sit there off to the side and not be able to, which I understand. Like, of course, like
at that age,
that's embarrassing. And that's my fault. So yeah, that was my mom embarrassing moment of the week. I'm sure there'll be more to come.
What was it you said earlier? At each age, you think, okay, we're getting past this. Nope, there's something else just around the corner. It's
always something else. Yeah.
Yeah. Mine is still different. And this has happened to me multiple times now, Andrea. So I really need to get my shit together for that story that I did this week. I was on, a Mike Vrabel press conference on Zoom. Woo woo. While he was meeting with the Titans media for the first time, as he's the Patriots head coach. And you've got all the beat writers, you've got, the national reporters on it. I'm just on my Zoom. I'm just listening. I'm not going to, do anything. I'm just listening. And then did not realize my mic was off or on. Did not realize my mic was on. And suddenly you just hear, hi. And I'm like,
oh my gosh.
Just my daughter, my 3-year-old going to be daughter going like, hi. And like, no one knows where it's coming from. And I feel like you could just tell, like, and Vrabel's kind of a ball buster. So I think because he didn't know where it came from, he just let it slide. But I was just mortified.
Yeah.
But I shouldn't be.
Love that.
It's happened to all of us, though. Like, that's the thing. Like, I'll never forget. This was years ago when my kids were super little. And I don't know, they must have been like 2 and 4, maybe younger than that. And I had to get a call from Dave Doran, who was at Northern Illinois at the time, is now at NC State.
Yeah.
And then he calls me and he's a no nonsense kind of guy. Like, he's not taking any garbage about anything or anyone. So I ask my first question and they get in a fight and someone falls and there is just absolute chaos. And I'm like, Coach, I'm going to have to call you back. And it was so mortifying and embarrassing. I have not brought this up with him in his time at NC State, and I don't think I ever will because it's just too embarrassing. So I get
That's
it.
so funny.
Right? It's just, yeah, right. I mean, I think that's like earning our badge, right? Or what is it? It's just like, okay, that's just means we're doing the mom thing and we're doing the sports journalism thing.
This is what balance looks like. Actually, Dave Doran was there at Wisconsin when I was there, and I remember he was a nice guy. Liked him.
I will say, like, he comes across as like gruff, but he's one of my favorite people in the conference. And there's never been a time he's been there for 13 years now that he said, no, I'm not going to talk to you. So shout out Dave Doran.
Do you have a moment before we let Andrea go, or are you going to skip this week?
I feel like I always have really embarrassing things. I just had one thing to say for anyone listening who follows the trajectory of our personal storylines. My son plays Little League for the first time. And just to catch you up really quickly, he had not played anything near this competitive before. We just threw him in the deep end, and that was my fault. That was my mom fail, which was a previous episode. But I will say I'm so stinking proud because he has now had a hit in 3 straight games. It's machine pitch.
What?
So it's like really intense, like
Yep,
35 mile
amazing.
per hour pitches. All of a sudden, this kid had never swung a real bat before this year. He got 2 hits last night. He's just like, he got the game ball. He is so excited. And I'm so personally happy because like I was never really sure if he would be an athlete, to be honest. And he still might not be, right? Like he still might be like, all right, this was fun. And now I'm never going to do baseball again. But I'm really, really proud of him. So for anyone who has listened and followed along to this story of the saga of me trying to expect my 6-year-old to be good at sports when I've never really worked with him on sports. It's been really good. And shout out to his dad, who's the one who's there all the time working with him because mom is not there very often. So
Yeah.
You knew it. He was going to be good at baseball.
I thought he would, but now, Anyway, so I'm really glad it's all working out. So
Yay. Yay.
That's such a good way to end. Maybe we do the mom fails and then a nice mom moment. So
Yes. You got to balance it out.
Perfect.
yeah, give ourselves a
always
pat on
fail.
the back every now and then.
Yes.
You deserve it. You
exactly.
deserve it, Jane. Okay. Well, Andrea, thank you again for taking time during this crazy college football season. And again, y'all, she is Andrea Adelson. You can catch her on ESPN.com, ACC Network, and on her podcast, Inside Access, which is every Thursday, wherever you get your podcasts.
So great talking to you guys. Thanks for having me.
Jamie, that was episode 10. You know, we just finished episode 10.
Yay! Congrats to us.
Congrats to us.
And thanks to everyone for listening.
Thanks for listening, y'all. This has been really fun. We're going to keep things going. We have lots of different guests coming in and out throughout the next couple weeks. Again, it's that time of year, so the ladies continue to be busy, but that's okay. We're just here for the ride. So we appreciate y'all. We'll see you next week. Please subscribe, download, like, give us a good rating, whatever you think. And we'll see you next week, babes.